I'm Tara Schwartz. You're listening to Health Matters. We know many talented healthcare heroes at the MUHC and the Research Institute of the MUHC, but many of the doctors, researchers, and scientists have some not so hidden talents. Many are singers, even opera singers, musicians of all kinds, including my next guest, in addition to being an internal medicine and critical care physician and the director of the Critical Illness Recovery Center at the MUHC. Dr. David Hornstein is also a musician who performs with his band 24/7. Dr. Hornstein is taking part in a brand new fundraising initiative at the MUHC Foundation called MUHC's Got Talent, a talent show of healthcare professionals where we raise money for causes close to our hearts and theirs. Dr. Hornstein, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tara. It's great to be here.
How long have you been performing with 24/7, Dr. Hornstein?
Well, I've actually played the guitar since I was about 14 and played in high school bands at that point. But it was only about 15 years ago that I bumped into my high school friend, quite by accident, and we started playing in a band together. And this band, 24/7, I've put together with colleagues and friends from the MUHC and from music, and we're thrilled to be participating.
And where do you perform with this band? How often do you get up on stage?
Well, not very often. We get up on stage 3 or 4 times a year as people playing. We have day jobs, and we like to play
busy ones.
Yeah, and we like to play charity events, and just for the passion of playing. So a few times a year.
Are you excited about taking part in the very first MUHC's Got Talent?
Extraordinarily excited to be part of this. It's going to be a blast.
What did you think when the MUHC Foundation approached you and said, "Hey, we're doing this talent show. MUHC's Got Talent. We want you involved." What went through your mind then?
I thought it was a great idea. Well, terrified, and then I thought it was a great idea and an opportunity for us to play for a good cause, which is really whatever all of us love to do. We all do our primary thing, but we love the music, and if we can do some good with the music, this is certainly a way to do that, and we're very excited about it.
We're speaking with Dr. David Hornstein, and we're talking about MUHC's Got Talent, a talent show of healthcare professionals from the MUHC taking place this November to raise funds. Now, each doctor, each healthcare professionals, I should say, because they're not all doctors, are taking part in MUHC's Got Talent. Tell us what you are raising money for, Dr. Hornstein.
So we're trying to raise awareness and some funds for the MUHC Critical Illness Recovery Program, which you mentioned. And this is a program that helps survivors of critical illness and their families cope with the very unique set of difficult and very little addressed challenges that come after critical illness. We know that surviving critical illness is the end of a difficult period, but it's also the beginning of a long process of recovery. And that's what we're here to support because we believe we have a responsibility to do that.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that because I think you're right. Like we think about the illness, but we don't think about what happens after it. So when you say critical illness, can you give us some examples? How do you define that so that we can understand what you mean?
Well, so regardless of what clinical condition landed you up in an intensive care unit, if you've needed to be there for more than a couple of days, it's inevitable that you face a very specific set of challenges. So you could have come through it from a surgery or an accident or a cancer treatment or anything, but there are very specific things that happen in an intensive care unit that leave their mark and need to be addressed afterwards, and that's what our program deals with, both the physical and the psychological needs.
Can you give us some examples about how you would care for somebody in the critical illness recovery program? What kinds of things do you help? How do you help them?
Absolutely. So we're a multidisciplinary group. It includes a core group of physicians, nurses, pharmacists, and psychologists, all of whom practice in the ICU. And we meet patients individually, and we address medical and psychological needs. And one of the simplest and most important needs people have is for them to understand exactly what's happened to them. And you'd be surprised, but it's often very much not the case. And equally crucial is to break the sense of isolation that's really common and to normalize the phenomenon that they're facing because there's very little talk and awareness about it in the community at large. So we do individual sessions with our patients, and then we run a peer support program where patients and families get to meet and interact with each other and help each other. So that's that type of support they get from each other is invaluable during recovery.
I'm wondering how recent this type of program is, Dr. Hornstein, because I think the way of thinking about patients like this, and okay, you've been in a critical illness, but now we want to help you post that critical illness. Is this fairly new? Is this something that's fairly new, or as it has been around for a while?
I think the awareness, that's a very good question, Tara. I think the awareness of, the recovery period as part of the responsibility of critical care professionals is relatively new. Certainly the awareness that these challenges people face has been there for a number of years, but accepting the responsibility that we have some role to play in it is fairly new. It's growing. It's a growing field right now. Yeah.
It sounds like it's a much needed one. How will donations and what you raise in MUHC's Got Talent through your fundraising page, how will this help your program?
Well, it'll help incredibly. Number one, awareness. The more people are aware of this, the better it is. And our program has essentially been running on goodwill to date, but we're in great need of having a full-time clinical coordinator to allow us to reach the greatest number of patients possible, to be on the terrain, visiting in the ICUs, on the floors afterwards, and obviously all the work that leads up to seeing patients and taking care of them. So this type of these patients, let's just remember, have been the sickest of our institution's patients. And the money we raise to get a clinical coordinator will allow us to ramp up our efforts and reach as many people as possible.
And it sounds so important. Dr. David Hornstein is Director of Critical Illness Recovery Center at the MUHC. He's performing in MUHC's Got Talent. What can you tell us about your band 24/7? What kind of music do you perform? What can we look forward to?
Well, I would say our musical tastes are about as eclectic as our members. We love classic rock and roll from the 70s. I'm not going to tell you my age, as well as, some blues, funk, soul, pop. We love working on vocal duets and harmonies. We basically enjoy each other's company, and we thrill when the music really hits the mark. And, we play from a place of passion for the music and to transport ourselves and hopefully our audience to another time and a special experience. My goal, Tara, would be that you leave our show humming a tune and feeling uplifted. And that's what we hope to nail with this.
Okay, well, I'm going to be at that show. So I promise you, I will be leaving the show humming a tune and tapping my toe. And I'm really, really excited to see you and your band perform. Dr. David Hornstein, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Health Matters, and good luck in MUHC's Got Talent. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you very much, Tara. Appreciate it.
Now, we will be showcasing all the healthcare professionals who will be taking part in MUHC's Got Talent over the course of the next several weeks. The big event is in November at the Corona Theater. We'll be telling you more about that as it gets closer. So if you want to help support Dr. David Hornstein or the other performers at MUHC's Got Talent, just head to the MUHCfoundation.com website. You'll see that on the homepage, and you can find out all about the different healthcare professionals taking part in this brand new fundraising event, MUHC's Got Talent.